Hello, this is Alana Heim of Prosperity Alignment, and I'm looking at refinancing my home. So I just was playing with some numbers and wanted to share these with you. So what I'm looking at, I actually had purchased my home back in 2014 for $439,000 and for 30 years. My interest rate actually was 3.75%. So I'm just doing some calculations and running some numbers because I'm actually going to be able to adjust my rate down by a full percentage point and shave off some time on my loan. So I've actually paid 6 years off on my loan. I'm going to be refinancing for a 20-year mortgage, basically very much break even on the payment, and I'm going to be shaving a full percentage point and 4 years off of my loan. So let's take a look here. And this is roughly, I know I had paid some extra, so my balance is actually somewhere closer to this. But what I was looking at, because this is what we just don't do this when we're looking at, oh wow, this is such a great rate. And I was telling my husband, I remember the first time I bought a home back in 2002. I think my interest rate was like 7.25%, right? That's what the going rate was. This is 3.75%, and look at this outrageous amount we pay in interest. This is why I have a hard time with our mortgage industry, because for 3.75%, why should you, the mortgage company, the bank, be allowed to charge this much? So I've been running some different numbers, some different data, right? This is a little different because I did the 3.75. So let's go back and take a look here. I was just playing with numbers, right? So if we went back to the 4%, great. This is what I've got in the spreadsheet over on the side. Oh, I didn't do 4%. Let's go back. Let's just drop it down even more to the 3%. That way it just kind of shows you where I was pulling these numbers. 3%, $227,303 in interest. My mortgage principal balance was $439,000 for this home, which means I'm paying $666,303 over the loan life, the 30-year term. I'm paying this much, right? And we say, wow, 3%, that's a great interest rate. Yet, why does that mean? And I'm just kind of showing, with these different, I was doing some payments and percentages, cumulative, the differences here. Why paying $227,000 is a good deal? When look at this, I'm paying 1.5 times the value of the property I purchased. That's outrageous, right? So I just kept playing with the numbers. And I went back to see, and I'll show you here, just some of the historical averages or these rates here. And look at this, in 1981, that's so crazy. I was 2 years old, 16.64%, the average rate. And this might not seem so crazy for people who actually lived it, but back then, and I feel like my parents probably would have already bought their home, but even when they had bought their home, their first home, I want to say it was like $40,000. That was up in Northern California. So for $40,000, they may have had some kind of crazy interest rate that was still somewhere in here, 8, 10%, up to 16. So I ran these numbers. And again, just looking at my balance to see roughly what would this look like. Well, as the balance continues to grow because the interest you have to pay goes up so outrageously, so too does your payment. And could you imagine somebody being able to buy a home for $400,000 and pay 16% and have almost $6,000 monthly payment? That's just ridiculous. And look at this interest. $1.6 million for a $400,000 home. That's over 4 times the value, right? And so I'm just playing with the numbers and giving you insight as to this is what our system, our financial system has been based upon for far too long. And unfortunately, it is one of the systems that will have to come down because, folks, this is greed. This is plain and simple. There is no reason a bank should even need any of these percents. And honestly, we need to get to a place where 1% or something low and more sustainable, because I am over this compound interest factor. And let me tell you, I know it's out there. You're going to hear about it. All these rules of like rule of 72 and how great you want to have your money work for you and you want to compound. Well, I'm going to tell you, it sounds all well and good, but this is how it works in reverse against you, because the banks are charging whatever they can, whatever the Fed, whatever they want to deem necessary. They're printing money. They're just making it happen. And you know what? 1%, that's realistic. That's more reasonable to say, okay, the value of my home is $439,000 at the time I purchased it. I'm going to pay you $69,000. Guess what? That's not 1%. They're still earning. I'm still paying an additional 16% on top of what my home was. I'm paying this out, right? That seems more realistic. But all of this is just absolutely crazy. So, let's just play with this number over here going, what if it was even just a half percent? What would that look like? So again, I'm going back, still using the 30-year, going back to in time, 6 years ago when I had got my mortgage on the home that I live in. And I'm just playing with numbers, just looking to see. My payment will go down again. And ultimately, right, $33,000. That's more realistic in the sense that why should we have to pay half of our value of the property just to have a mortgage? And I get that there's a lot involved and they're giving these loans and there's risk, but really to say that you should warrant risk and the means of 10%, 7%, 5%, whatever it's been historically is just crazy. And this, my friends, is why we are a debt-based society. Individually, we are fully in debt. Corporations, businesses taking on debt. Even our governments. And we see this right now with 2020, where things are going, printing more and more money, stimulating the economy. It's unsustainable. And it is not equitable for all of us to truly reach prosperity in the way that we are meant to have prosperity. So yes, we get the luxury of a bank lending us the money so we can finance our home and have it. But to know that you're going to pay almost double the price in the value, that's just crazy. What could you do with that money, right? You could already fund your kids' education. And that's just another aspect. Go play with this. Instead of seeing it as a mortgage, see it as your student loan, right? And we still think, oh, wow, that's amazing. The government or the banks are giving me this low interest rate of 5%, 3%, I assure you, it's not that low. It's not that great. They can do better. They should do better. And we have to liberate ourselves from this debt-based system. Now, you might say, oh, but Alana, what about the interest I get to deduct, right? I get this tax deduction here in the United States. Well, I'm going to say that's all well and good. And being a CPA, it's a great thing for you to be able to take your deductions. But on the whole, is it truly worth almost paying half of your value or double your value just so you can deduct it? And more, we're in a place where right now, I'm in that boat. I don't get to deduct the interest. So that's not really a very good piece to say that is going to create more value for you. What if you could do more, right? What if you could have these payments, right? Lower payments and have excess money, and maybe you could do something else. And I want to just caution that, that doesn't mean always putting into retirement and then throwing it into the stock market and those systematic things we've been taught. I'm talking about what is the heart and soul that you carry? What is the dream for this world that you want to create? Because yes, it may feel like it's falling apart because it has to for us to rebuild it. And we have to take out the debt-based system, the lack and scarcity that this model provides. We have to be able to move forward in a way where this greed and corruption and power is no longer part of it, where we all get to be prosperous and sustain ourselves. So maybe that looks like creating a business, being part of a new way of providing food, growing food, outsourcing in just whatever way possible, right? Investing in someone else's business, helping to provide these projects that are actually going to be helpful for the good of mankind, of Mother Earth, sustainability, clean water, clean food, whatever speaks to your heart. What is that passion and fire? And right now, as I'm presenting this to you, the earth is sitting in the gate 30. So guess what? You're already feeling the intensity and the passion that I have and the burning desire. But guess what? Mother Earth, with her own fiery passion, she's being felt as well. And she is wanting us to ground in to the vision that we hold through these emotions of where we're headed. What is the thing that you want to create? What is it that you want to be able to see and change, right? Which direction do we want to move in? Well, we know interest rates have been going lower and lower and lower, and it's been so exciting, right? Well, guess what? It needs to do better. It needs to go lower because this is just ridiculous. I mean, come on. We are all here to help each other. And it's scary too when we think, yes, we own our home, but we don't, because the bank is always looming in the distance, wanting it to collect and wanting to get whatever it can from the property, to take it. And when people aren't able to pay and they're losing jobs because of all of the changes we've had, right? This becomes real. This becomes real scary too. And I want you to just see where things have been. Holy crap, 40 years ago, nearly 40 years ago, this is what people paid. They were willing. And it doesn't matter that the loan could have been $40,000. You're still going to be paying almost 5 times more than what the property was even worth. And that, my friends, it's not okay. And that breaks my heart to know we just keep working harder and harder. And people want to take care of their families and they want to live life and enjoy life. And it feels really hard when you're trying to pay off a loan that feels like it's never going to get there. And what if we can continue to support each other and find new ways of sustaining ourselves without wanting to always go to this compound interest model? And I have the Will Center and I know what value looks like. And more when I am pricing my programs, I am not charging interest. It drives me insane, because the fact is, if I'm charging you interest, you're paying more. And why should you pay more? Just because you don't have the money here and I'm going to be out of that money for 1 month, so therefore you should pay me more? That doesn't work. It's not sustainable. We're seeing that in our system. And that is the greed factor that is everywhere. Everybody wants to charge you extra. Every little nickel and dime that they can, they want to overcharge and charge you higher and higher. And guess what we've all learned? To do the same thing. So we have to break the cycle and we have to let it go. And we have to see there is always enough. And yes, we can have this go zero, get closer and closer to zero. Maybe we get there. Maybe that works, right? There are going to be many who are like, you're ridiculous, Lana. That is never going to happen, nor should it, right? But again, I'm talking about we need to continue to look through the lens of abundance and prosperity, and how you sustain yourself, you do through sustaining others and creating that for the whole of this planet. Not just the humans, not just the Mother Earth, but every inhabitant. So even the animals, and how do we sustain and just really take care and nurture you and then each of us, right? To help each other. And doing it this way, right? It was just always lining the bankers' pockets, the shareholders. And how was that contributing back and creating more value for the world? I'm going to tell you, yeah, maybe some of those shareholders were able to go and invest in some company. I'm going to take a breath. Yes, that was the way of our old world. But we are moving into a whole new world that we get to create. What does that look like? How do you sustain yourself and each other? How do you love and support and be loved and be supported? Have a blessed day. Thanks for listening to me go on. I hope this was helpful. If you need any support, please reach out. Lots of love.